Yo, what is good, NYU? We are back, and you are listening to the Silence Behind the Violence podcast, episode number 10. Kai, talk to us.
We are here with Cooper Pontelandolfo and Trent Furman from NYU's wrestling team. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Sure. Definitely. We definitely have been meaning to have you guys on for a few weeks. I know we texted Coop about trying to schedule, and the schedule factors into why we are where we are. You might think like, yo, like wrestling in the wrestling room, that's super fire, coming to you from where they compete and, you know, get ready for nationals. It was the only space that was like open on campus. So, so we'll take it.
23 varsity sports, ton of club teams. We're always kind of
exactly,
you know, playing musical chairs. But.
Right. We're always ready.
Exactly. You got to do what you got to do.
For sure. So we'll start with this one. I know you guys are both, from local area, New Jersey. So before we even get into our questioning, like, did you guys come to the city a lot, or since you are local?
Personally,
Prior?
I didn't really. I'm like 25 minutes out of Philly, so I went to Philly more.
Got you.
But I came to the city like probably a handful of times before, not much.
When I was a kid, I used to come to the city a lot because like my uncle lived in the city, and like my mom's family, she's from the Bronx. But we never really like ventured down to like Manhattan. It was always just like up in the Bronx, and then like we went to like Central Park and like a couple restaurants, but not really like anything around here or like Brooklyn or Queens. Like never any of that.
Right.
Well, throughout your wrestling journey, I'm sure you guys kind of both started young, but at what point did you know you could compete at this level? Like, was there a certain match, a certain year in high school where it's like, oh, like I'm good, I can, play in college?
You want to go, Olga?
I'll go. I think it was more like junior year. I was like undefeated up until like the state tournament, and then that's when I started getting like some like college coach recognition from like NYU's talking to me, Penn, Brown, Columbia.
Wow.
So I was more looking at like academics and like wrestling rather than just like only wrestling with like, because there's a bunch of like, you know, Division I schools that are in like the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, but
Right.
if something happens where you no longer compete in your sport, what are you left with?
Right.
Yeah, same there. I feel like all throughout high school, like I started wrestling when I was 5, so I've kind of just been like growing up wrestling. It's been like, it was my life for my first like beginning of my part of my life. So I kind of always knew I wanted to wrestle in college, and I always had like decent amount of success. I always had success where like I was ranked in the state throughout high school. So I always knew I could compete, just kind of finding out where I wanted to compete, like what division I wanted to compete at, and just kind of what the best opportunity was with school as well. That was probably the most important to me as well, because I don't plan on wrestling after college, so I kind of want to just set myself up so after competing and wrestling, I have a future, and like I don't want to go to a middle of nowhere school like he said. Right. And then once I'm done, I'm just like, all right, like I could look back on my wrestling career where I had fun, I wrestled. I do it because I like it. I don't do it just like because it's my life. I do it because I like it, and I'm also getting a great education while I'm here. I'm going to be successful after school.
The competition level in Jersey, was it like pretty stacked?
Yeah.
Like where you guys went to school?
Yeah,
for
like,
sure.
You definitely realize that come like some national tournaments. Like I know I went to NHSCA's, which is like a tournament in Virginia where it's your entire like graduating class. So there's like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior division, and like you would come in there and guys would be seeded because it's based off like how you do in states. And like the Jersey guys would pretty much just like clear house, like them, Pennsylvania, and like you'd have like whatever a 3-time state champ from like Arkansas, and it would just be like, not like, be like, dude, who is this guy? He wouldn't make it out of like our first qualifying round to like the state tournament.
Right. And like in dual tournaments, when we have like team dual tournaments, there would be like Team New Jersey or like Team PA is also very good, and then like you have like other random states that like you would just crush. Like it would just be like 60-0 immediately. Like it would always be Team PA, Team New Jersey in finals pretty much.
And then a lot of times, like if you go with your club like teams, you might just versus another Jersey guy in the finals. So like you drive all the way down to like Virginia or wherever, and then you're just versing a club that's like 10 miles away.
Right. That's kind of common in like a lot of other sports with like, let's say the UAA.
Right.
Like it could be like the NCAA tournament of, you know, whatever sport, and then they end up meeting in like, you know, the round of 16, the Elite Eight or whatever it is, the equivalent. My other question was, we were talking about, I don't think we have this in our notes here, Kai, but we were talking with men's volleyball about ***ing. Is there much ***ing in you guys' sport at all?
Great question.
In wrestling?
Yeah.
Like not on the mat. Like
okay.
It's very rare, very, very rare that someone talks during the match. Like, very rare. I can maybe count like 3 times where that's ever happened.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and usually if you do, you get like immediate point, or like the ref immediately says.
So
Yeah.
they're just paying
Yeah.
so close attention that you don't really have room.
The only
to,
thing I can think of is like Twitter with like Division I guys with like
Yeah.
Penn State, Iowa.
Yeah.
But like other than that, there's no really like time for like, you know, when you're lining up on like football, you can like, you know, trash talk. There's no real time for that in wrestling.
Yeah.
That actually brings. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. Something I was wondering, like, a approach to a match, but in that with like the shit talking subject, like, is there an level of intimidation? Is there like a stare down across the mat? Is there kind of like a flexing, or like, I know because there's rankings, guys kind of are familiar with the level of who they're going up against, and is there a level of intimidation? I know when we talk to volleyball, it's like through the net, the middles who are right there at the net can kind of like even if they're not talking, it's that stare down. So is there any like extent of that in wrestling?
I feel like very much depends on the person. Like, some guys you'll catch like staring at you and you're just like what's up? Like, but some guys like to, like, personally, I don't really like stare at my opponent. I just kind of focus what I'm gonna do. I just like do my own pre-match routine and kind of just focus on myself. I'm not really into like intimidating, because I feel like it's not gonna affect like my performance out on the mat.
Right.
I think it's a lot different, like more different than like high school. Like in high school, you have a real big age gap from like an 18-year-old to like a 14-year-old, so you can have that like intimidation factor, like across the mat, like stare him down, like he's like an underclassman. But once you get to like college, you know, you have kids that like take like, you know, a gray shirt where they don't compete their first year of college, or like, you know, they're a couple years older. You have no real idea like how old people are.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, everyone's a good wrestler in college.
Right.
So, and like, there's no point like trying to like play mind games with someone. It's like, no, you got to go out there and like do your job.
Yeah, like obviously, and you guys kids, like these are all men. Like these are men, like with like weight programs and everything.
Yeah.
For sure. I noticed that last year. I was just like freshman coming in, didn't really cut any weight, and like the first tournament I wrestled this like 5th year senior, and I was just like, oh, all right, this dude's big. Like,
Did you feel like you improved throughout the course of last year? I feel like you did.
yeah, definitely. Just getting more confidence as well. Just like seeing and proving to myself that I can win these tournaments and consecutively beat like good kids.
Was there like a match in which like maybe it might have been like, not gonna say a rite of passage, but like a like that was big for me,
Like a turning point?
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, after the first tournament, because like going into the first tournament, I had no idea what to expect. I was just like, I'm just going here, like I'm gonna wrestle. We're gonna see. Like, I feel like I'm a good wrestler. Like, I'm coming from Jersey. Like, I'm like top ranked kid. I would wrestle at national tournaments and do well. So like, I feel like I could wrestle with anyone. But like, I was like, I honestly still have no, like, because I'm going against kids that could be like 25 years old, and I'm like 19 years old. Like, they got like 5 more years of like man muscle, and I'm just like, all right, we'll see how this goes. But going to that, and after winning that, and like pretty handily, I was like, kind of got a lot of confidence, and it just made that rest of the season like more fun, and just like, all right, I can compete with these dudes. Like, I'm gonna have more fun now, because going, like, obviously when you're winning, it's more fun. Like, you don't want to go into a tournament and like you're like not expecting to win, or just like, oh, every match is gonna be tough. But like, when you have pretty good confidence that you're gonna win these matches, it's a lot more fun. It's less nervous. Like, you could just sit back and chill with your teammates and then have fun when you're wrestling.
For sure.
I think the most fun was like, you know, like regionals. Like, we both won our semifinal match, and then after that I was like, okay, we're qualifying for nationals. Like, you know, yeah, nationals in like a week and a half, but like you just like soak in that like glory there, because like the whole season, you know, like January, like during J term, where it's like kind of like just like dark days, you just come in here and just like grinding, is like, it made all that like worth it.
Right. Well, I mean, we might as well talk about like the atmosphere that you guys experienced there at those like really like marquee events. Like, you guys talk about like what that was like.
Yeah, I think nationals was like really big like jump from, you know, you travel to a couple tournaments in PA, just like, you know, you're like familiar with the guys that you wrestle, like they're in your bracket a couple times throughout the year, but like nationals, like it's like the big dance. Everyone's there, everyone's going for a national championship, and like, you know, some of the guys are from Iowa, Wisconsin. You've never seen them before, and like, especially, you know, when they're highly ranked, you're like, oh, you know, I wish I was that guy, I wish I was this guy, and then like, before you know it, you're wrestling them, and it's like you're beating them, and then it's like, oh, okay, you know, just like a big like stepping stone.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I definitely want to, like, I remember just kind of watching some of the stream and stuff, and in Iowa, in that big arena, like, they really filled it up too.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know what to expect. Of course, last year, my first year working here, first school I've been at with the wrestling program, kind of didn't know the popularity. I was like, oh, Division III Wrestling Nationals, what's that going to be like? And watching it, I was like, they showed out. So that must have been just electric.
It was really fun, especially when we first got there and, like, everyone, like, we get there, what, like 2 days before?
Yeah, we got there Wednesday.
Yeah, we got there like 2 days before. We got out there, got to practice it on the mat 'cause we had to, like, obviously keep our weight down. And just, like, everyone out there on the mat. There was, like, a couple other teams there. And just seeing everyone, like, preparing, getting ready the final days is just cool.
Yeah. And it's only the best in
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's wild. My question that I have next that just popped in my mind, it's not in our notes. We were talking a little bit about wrestling. Why do y'all not pump your own gas?
In Jersey?
Jersey?
Yeah. What's the deal with that?
No idea.
I'm pretty sure in the 1930s is because there was like a fire.
Really?
Yeah,
Whoa.
so someone I'm pretty sure left the car on and a little spark happened and it exploded, and from then on they made it a law. So I think us and I think Hawaii, right, are the only states that don't pump our own gas.
Yeah, you
Trent's
guys
coming
can-
in with the
I don't know.
actual history.
I'm-
I
of
expected
course
that to
he
be
would
just
know
like a
that.
I'm pretty
sarcastic.
sure that.
That's that
We have a
makes
lot of New
sense.
Jersey
I'm
students.
not
Yeah,
surprised
for
you know
sure.
that.
Why does he? Is he like
He knows
an
just
encyclopedia
random
for random
facts.
stuff? Okay, I'm out.
Hey, it doesn't hurt, right?
I needed to know, and
I'm pretty
I now
sure.
know.
Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
though.
we'll do our research. That's mad funny. Just moving on though, what are some things that drew you guys to NYU?
For me, I just liked the city. Just like I want to be in the finance industry, somewhere like around there. Like, I don't even know, honestly. Just somewhere around where I want to make connections. And just like, I also love food. So the
Hell
food in New York City is just like unbelievable. Like cutting weight, I remember my senior year, I would just like look up food restaurants in New York City. Like when I knew I was about to come here, I would look up like best food in New York City and like have a bunch of lists and like so excited to get up here and try everything because you could get literally whatever you want whenever you want. I remember after nationals we were like, oh, let's go get ice cream, let's go get something.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of Iowa and it's like 10 p.m. nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing's
right. Of course.
open.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we
I
found,
was
we found a
just-
Cold Stone, Iowa.
Yeah, we
that
had
was
to drive
about
like
it.
30 minutes though to get there. It was just like ridiculous.
And then when we came back from nationals, we got dropped off at JFK, what, like 11, 10:30.
Mm-hmm.
Got back to like Palladium and then like our apartment, and it was like maybe 11:30. Then we're like, yo, we're starving. We didn't eat all day. We were traveling since 9 a.m. We're like, yo, what should we get? Look up Prince Street Pizza, opens at 3 a.m. We're like,
Money.
let's go.
Yeah, of course.
Then we got like
Clutch.
the little, was it cupcake
Little
bake shop?
cupcake bake shop, like right
yeah,
across the
Unbelievable.
street.
So
Yeah.
like,
on
it
the
had
corner.
it had been like 30 degrees. We walked from
So
here
cold.
all the way there.
So cold.
We're just like bundled up. We're like, it's so cold.
Yeah.
We're like eating. It feels so good. And then we're like, whoa, we gotta walk back.
Worth it though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
worth it.
Well, on the food list though, like how do you have them broken up? Like categorically?
Oh,
what
yeah,
do you
like
got? Genre?
Breakfast, like
okay.
brunch, pizza spots, dessert spots, late night spots.
Also
Yeah.
like price range.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know,
Like
like
dollar signs.
Yeah.
The $1,
you know,
$2, $3,
yeah.
$4 signs.
like on like a Friday night, you don't want to be spending whatever like $80 on
No,
a meal.
not trying to go to Budokan or
yeah.
Nobu.
Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure, like you mentioned, cutting weight. Like, there's so many options. I'm sure it's easy to like enjoy some meals and like eat some tasty food.
Yeah.
That if you're watching the calories and things like that,
Yeah.
you got plenty of options.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. There's like a list that compiles like, oh, I'm craving this, and then after season, it all gets ticked off.
Do you have this like on your phone?
Oh yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
have your phone on you?
Yeah.
what do we got?
You usually make a list like during like the worst day. It's like the day before tournament. You, like haven't ate in like a couple like whatever like a day or so, and you're just like, I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
Open up some YouTube, look up some like food challenges. It's a great time.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
wait,
got-
so like the cuts are that serious?
Full
Like
list.
you'll
It-
fast for a day to,
It
to
really
make weight?
depends. Like how much you're cutting. Like freshman year, I was cutting a lot, like down to 33, and then we had COVID, and then went up like 3 weight classes.
sure.
Yeah.
So like me and Jason Guy were cutting hard our freshman year. Like now it wasn't like bad. So, but like it's just the things like water's 0 calories, but if you drink a bottle of water, that's a pound.
Yeah.
So you step on the scale, you're a pound over. So you just gotta like it's more like in a nuisance rather than like hard.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I remember that. Like I would look through like old media day photos. This is before like we had one like last year, and we just needed a photo of you or something. And I was like, yo, I don't know who that is. Like, just like comparatively, the jump, like, pre and post Cove, wild. Cute little wrestling story. The food.
Right.
I got you two foodies. Yeah, I'm playing with you. Our athletic director Stuart, he's always talking to me and Kai about food, or at least making fun of us for it, for always splitting out and grabbing lunch. Pizza spots. What do we got on there?
Pizza spots. Let's see. Prince Street's honestly my favorite.
Is that number one?
Prince Street's my number one.
It's a hot topic in NYU athletics.
The thick pepperonis.
So good. And they curl up a little bit.
So good.
Oh, fire.
So good.
But you need like a handful of napkins to eat that.
Oh yeah, because
otherwise
each pepperoni will be a pocket of oil.
Spumoni Gardens, fire, so good. Not in Manhattan, but very
Brooklyn,
good.
Right?
Yeah, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Joe's Pizza, honestly, not my favorite.
Okay.
It's okay.
It's convenience.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Yeah.
Hard to beat.
Village Square Pizza, pretty good. Not my favorite. There's one place on Houston Street, Songhi Napoli, my favorite pizza, I think.
Yeah,
it's Neapolitan style pizza. That's my
enjoy
favorite.
that.
Brick oven, like chewy, crispy, so good. Oh, so good.
NIL deal, where you at? It's fire. Okay. All right, yo. I might need that list, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, bet. Kai, you want to take our next?
Yeah. But Cooper, it's maybe a little more fresh for you being a
Yes.
sophomore. Trent, you've been here for a little while, but what was your guys' welcome to college moment, if you had one, where it was just like, whoa, I'm here. Someone either kicked my ass or like this training's really hard.
For wrestling, honestly, I can't say I had a welcome to college moment, but for school, last semester,
Yeah, we'll take that.
Yep.
last semester, calc. Not a big math guy.
Feel that.
I'm literally like second class. I'm just sitting there like, oh Lord, this is about to be a long semester. I'm like going to school, going to practice, go to the library for like 3 hours a night. And I've never been one to like go to the library for that long, but I was there for like probably a month and a half straight every night for like at least 2 or 3 hours. It was miserable. It was actually horrible.
Yeah, did you ever get that feeling in your stomach before like a test where
Yeah.
like, yo, like I am not okay right now?
I used to never actually get like nervous before tests,
Me neither,
but like
yeah.
I actually felt like I was preparing for a match. Like I felt like
That serious.
I
Yeah.
literally felt like a little like pit in my stomach. I was like, oh Lord, like here we go. I'm like bouncing up and down before I'm pacing back and forth. My hands sweating. I'm like, what is going on right now? Like I'm sitting down. Like why am I sweating?
Feel that. Yeah,
I think that was also with me with calc. Like fall semester, freshman year, I took AP Calc in high school, got a 5 on the test. I'm like, I know it. And my advisor was like, oh, you want to go to Calc too? I was like, no, I just want like a nice little intro class. I'll get an A. You know, I don't really know how college is going to be. Walked in the first day, I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. I opened up the homework the first week, and I was like, yo, this is nothing what we learned. What's going on here? And then I was like, all right. I started to get some of the homeworks, and then I'm like, okay, the exam, whatever. Like, taking a bunch of calc exams, pretty good. Yeah. And then I opened the first one. I was like, all right, it's 8 multiple choice. And it's like, all right, I don't know the first 8. Let's go to the short answer. It's like, don't know those either. It's like, I got 50 minutes left in the class. What am I going to do? And then it's like.
And then you started sweating?
And then I was like, it's going to be rough. And then now just like, I'm an econ major, so there's just so many math classes. So like I've gone away, like Cooper spending like whatever, 3+ hours in the library. Like at this point, it's either like I know it or I don't. If I don't know it by a certain time, that's it. I'll revisit it tomorrow. It's like there are point of diminishing returns where I'm just not going to get it. And I'll actually start to like lose understanding. So I'm like, all right, this is enough.
Hey, it's good to have that awareness.
Yeah,
Yeah, for real. Yeah, that's funny, man.
Cut it off.
I like that.
There's something about college level courses, man. Like, I'm so glad I'm just like done with academia because like it would be in the math courses where they'd be like, show your work. I'm like, don't matter. I got it right.
Or
You don't
like,
need to
I
see
got
it.
there.
You don't
Or
need to see it.
The worst part is like the examples, they make perfect sense. Like you look at them and you're
For
just like,
sure.
oh, these are great. These are easy. Homework problems, okay, a little harder. And then you open up the exams and like they're nothing of the sort. It's absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there and you're like, who's getting these right? And the worst part, I got to say the worst part, whatever. The average is like in my econ class, like 62. Okay.
Damn.
You get like an 80. You feel pretty good, right? Teacher releases the statistics. Oh yeah, there will be a curve except for the 3 people that got an 100. And now you're sitting there and you're like, yo, who got an 100? And why are you taking this class? Like, you know this. So there's just absolute wizards at this school that are just going to be better than you. So even if you like get an A, there is still someone better than you.
Would any of your professors ever show like the actual grades, like top to bottom? Obviously, no names, but like top person got 100, the lowest person got like 60.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They release
Did you ever have any high school
breakdowns.
teachers like? I had a high school, my IB International Baccalaureate math teacher, where he would put it like obviously no names, but it would be like let's say 25 people in the class, like 178, all the way down. It's like fucking 43.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I was like over here like, yo, who got that? That was tough. Yeah.
Well, the worst part is you're like, all right, average is 62. It's like, oh, I definitely did better than that. When you see like your email, right, and then you walk to class, you're like, oh, I did not do better than that. Okay, never mind.
Professor at the top says, please see me. And I'm like, damn.
I think I remember texting Trent actually after one of my exams, like, definitely got an 80, or definitely got a 90, like, for sure. He's like, really? I'm like, I will bet my life on it.
Come in
Get the test
2
back.
days.
It's like a 62. I'm like, oh my god.
I'm like, yo,
Ow.
Cooper, what happened? You're like, I have no idea. I thought I did good. But like, that's the worst. Like, my class last semester, a C was a 40, an A was an 80, and the lowest someone got on the exam was an 18.
Yo. I mean, you get like 15 for showing up.
Right, come on. It's like
Write your name. There we go.
there's a lot of give in there that you just gotta write. You get some points. I don't know what they were doing.
No, like the whole show your work thing. I'm just like, bro, like if I pull up to a party and someone's like, let me see the car you got here. Don't matter. I'm here.
Yeah.
I made it.
I came quick. Okay, so that was a little welcome to college moment. That was really good. I like that it was an academic.
It's the first academic answer we've got to that question. I like it.
Totally agreed.
Yeah.
I definitely like it a lot.
I think it's because like wrestling, it's the same pretty much. Like from when we're like little kids, it's the same rules.
Yes.
And then it's like the same preparation. So like whatever you lock in on, you're just like riding that. Especially come like junior, senior year of high school, it's like a lot of guys junior, senior year of high school can compete at the college level. Especially like depending on like their ages, they might have been like a held back or like they're just young for their grade, so they may be going to college at like 17, where like some other kids are like 19 or 20 in high school. So it really like just depends with your sport. I feel like it depends what the gap is between the two.
Right. Yeah, like I feel like that could definitely be the case in like football. Like like to your point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's spot on. Away from the classroom though, might either of you guys have a welcome to New York City moment?
I specifically remember we were playing spike ball one day, and it was just like in this little area in Washington Square Park, and we had to move over the spike ball thing because there were just like needles in the ground. And I was just like, yeah, we should probably slide over here. I'm not trying to step on a needle.
Yeah.
It's probably mine.
Yeah.
It's probably mine.
Yeah, right.
I think mine was like freshman year. When I think I was out at like 10:30 with some like the other wrestlers. And we're walking by Washington Square Park. And like in the distance under like, the lamps, you just see like this thing running on the rail and you're like, that wasn't a cat. and that was way too big to be a squirrel.
Yeah,
so
it's a
like,
silhouette
I don't know
of it.
what that was, but we're not walking over there. So like, just leave it up to your imagination.
Yeah. Well, those rats be going to Prince Street Pizza too.
The little chipmunk that ran over your foot.
Yeah, last year, I swear it was a chipmunk. I'm walking in the street and I felt
Not a
something run over my foot. I think it was me, Jason, and like Benny.
Yeah.
And I just stopped dead in my tracks. And I'm just like looking up, not even acknowledging. And I look down, I see like a little tail run away. And I'm like, that was a chipmunk. And they're like, that was a rat. I was like, that was a chipmunk. They're like,
some weight to it.
They're like, that was a rat the size of a cat. I was like, it was a little chipmunk. He was a cute little chipmunk. They're like, where are the trees? Where's the dirt? I was like, I don't know. It was a little chipmunk. Cute little
what we're
chipmunk,
going
just
with.
like in Jersey. Yeah. So to this day, it was a chipmunk. Rat never touched me.
Not a chipmunk.
Man, that's good. Back to the mat, I guess, and spent a lot of time with them in this room. But Coach Haberli and Coach Luce, of course, coaches who have built a really, really strong program here. Haberli's been doing it for longer than we've all been alive. What's it like playing for them? What was it like being recruited by them, and kind of the day-to-day just life in their program?
So the day-to-day life, Haberli's more of the jokester. Like, he deals with a lot of like all the like, we're flying to UAA, so he deals with a lot of that. Coach Luce runs more of the practices and like does the hands-on like wrestling practice type stuff. And I feel like they're kind of both, like, they play well off each other. Like, Haberli jokes around a lot. Luce is more serious, like, all right, let's get down to it. And then they kind of do flip back and forth. Sometimes Luce will be like, all right, let's play some dodgeball before practice. And then Haberli like, no, let's go wrestle. Like, they kind of go back and forth, but they play well together.
Yeah, I mean, like freshman year, I was part of like Haberli's like 300 win team, so that was pretty special. And I don't know, they've both been here for so long. It's kind of just like when you think of like NYU wrestling, you think of like Coach Haberli and Coach Luce. Coach Luce just got like promoted to like head associate.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was really happy about that. But yeah, just like Luce is definitely more like the serious, like looking at all like the teams, how the matchups, versus like, you know, Coach Haberli, he's just like, just gonna go out there and wrestle. Whoever we send out there is gonna do good. It's like, well, Coach, you know, we gotta have like, you know, some thought behind it, like how we're gonna match up against these guys. What should like the game plan be? Right. So that's like Luce's job, and Haberli's like, let's just go wrestle. Kind of like that old school mentality.
Yeah. So Corey is X's and O's. Bruce is just vibes.
For sure.
Pretty much.
For sure.
Okay. You think Bruce would be a good podcast guest?
He would be hysterical.
He'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, I know.
He would get some views. That's for sure.
Well, I'm interested, you know, you mentioned how the gap between high school and college isn't quite as big in a sport like wrestling. So once you guys got here, like, were there some tactical things, some, you know, form kind of things that they really instilled in you, or that they changed from what you were doing to help you improve, or is it more just kind of like general guidance as you train kind of thing?
For me personally, I think it was like more general guidance, because they don't really want to change what works well for you.
Right.
So they were kind of just like, the first few weeks they kind of like to let us wrestle live, like see how we do, see what we do, and then they'll kind of form based on that, like, oh, we see you like this move, like let's help you form this like better, or like let's help you find different ways to get to this. So they kind of just build and improve on what you are already doing. They're not trying to really change how you wrestle completely and like form it into how they like. I feel like that's what I liked about it.
I think the biggest thing is that like everyone in the practice room is like here to like work hard and like compete for a spot on the team, versus like, you know, in high school, a lot of kids will be like on JV. They know they're going to be on JV, like never going to start or anything. They're just doing it to like have fun. So like, yeah, we're doing it to have fun here, but like we're also trying to win. Like college season, it's a 6-month season. So it's like a long season, especially like, you know, J term, all the other kids go home, like, you know, hang out. We're here practicing and everything.
Locked
so
in.
yeah, so you're not just going to like spend the 6 months and kind of just like wasting your time essentially.
Yep.
Where like the high school season, it's only like 3 months. You go there, hang out with your friends. It's like a lot of guys coming here to like work, and you know, some kids quit after the first 2 weeks. They get like, you know, banged through the ground. It's like they just can't compete at this level, so it's not for them. Right. So I think that's the biggest thing from like, you know, high school to college. It's like college here, it's like, all right, we got like 3 other kids at your spot. Like, if you're not going to put in the work, we can drop you. Where like high school, like they just keep them along, like, you know, make it a fun environment.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it's always so interesting at the college level, from sport to sport, how some coaches like, like there'll be X amount of room for like raw products, people that they want to be finished products depending on their needs. So I think that's always interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And then speaking of that, of course, like we mentioned, you know, it's a really strong program, historic program. I think, if I'm correct, 8 out of the last 10 UAA championships. Of course, that's coming up again, looking to make it 9 out of 11. I think it's 15 straight years appearing at nationals, and I want to say a similar streak of having an All-American at nationals. What does that mean to be a part of that program? Did that contribute to you guys deciding to come here? And like, how does it, like, do you feel like just kind of representing, holding that up, any pressure given the history?
It was not a factor coming in. I kind of actually found out about it after All-American last year.
No,
they were like,
sure.
oh, like, did you know, like, Haberli has had an All-American, like, for 15 years? And I was like, no, I didn't know that. He was like, yeah, you kept the streak alive. I was like, cool. Like, didn't know that.
Yeah.
That probably would have been, like, not good to know before going into that match.
No,
so, like,
for
I'm glad I'm
sure.
finding out now.
Yeah, seriously, I feel that. Pontelandolfo American was a turning point in my capturing it.
I think it's kind of just like everyone does their best, and the results like will come. So like we're practicing in the room every day, doing like other lifts or runs. So like I know as long as I'm doing my best, like that's all I can ask for, and I know I'll get like results. Same with like Cooper, same with like a bunch of guys on the team. So it's not like our goal is to like, you know, say what we did like last year, like, oh, we had 4 national qualifiers, we won UAAs, had an All-American. It's like we're never trying to like equal that or better it. It's kind of just like, if I do better than what I know I can did, like if I do better than what I did last year, I'll have success. Cooper does better, same thing like that. So as long as you put your best foot forward, like, you're in a room to like grow. So that's like what you're going to do.
I'm not trying to think about last year or like the reputation that the program holds, because that just puts more pressure on it. It doesn't really do any good for anyone.
Yeah,
no, for sure.
Good outlet.
Last note, just as we were talking about the coaches, I'm curious, wrestling in general, coaches can get pretty animated on the sidelines, during a match. I'm just wondering, like, when you're in it, does their like comments and coaching in the match affect much? Do you change things based on what they say, or are they more kind of like, is it more just cheer, support, like go
energy,
or does that play a role?
Definitely during like duels, especially if it's like a tight duel and whatever, it's like a tied match or it's an overtime. If your bench is fired up and like it kind of just like demoralize the other guy, because like I know I've been on the opposite side where like you go to an away match, the home crowd is like cheering on, you're the top seed or whatever, you get taken down and like it just hits you like, I might like lose this match. I gotta step it up. And then like, it's a lot harder to do that when you're on like, enemy turf, you could say. But like when it's like a real close duel and like both benches are fired up, it's like a great experience.
It's so fun, yeah. Especially like at tournaments when we have like in the finals, like the whole team's on our side, their whole team's on their side. Like if it's overtime and you look at your bench, they're all fired up, like clapping, going crazy. It just gives you that extra energy you need to like get through that overtime period and like get the takedown and win the match.
Yeah, definitely like more so than like nationals. Because nationals, all the parents or all the fans are in the stands, and it's just like you and the guy, 2 coaches versus 2 coaches. That's it. So like anything the fans say, you don't really hear it. But like come like duels, you're like 5 feet away.
Right.
So if you get 20 guys screaming, "Oh, let's go!" Like he's down. Like let's go. Like it just makes it a lot more enjoyable, and you get like that adrenaline, and just like you have a better outcome.
No, for sure.
You mentioned just like atmosphere and stuff like that. I was just thinking about like the new building, and the excitement levels to which you guys must have, because as it stands on, what's today's date, February 7th, you guys are slated to move in next week. Again, hopefully, knock on wood, all what I'm saying?
Right.
I know
Right.
we've played this game before, but like, what's the feeling like, heading into it?
I'm excited to have our own room. We don't have to. We have the mats over there. We have to roll out and then unroll and roll up again at the end of practice. Just like when I'm done practice, I just want to leave and like go home. I'm not trying to have to roll up 6 mats again and then like tuck them away
And share them with the media day.
Yeah,
my bad.
Yeah,
I got nowhere else to go.
you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
I think like the coolest thing would be like maybe the student body will actually realize that we got sports, because there's so many times where I'm in a group, like doing a group project, and they're like, "Oh, can we meet at like 2 p.m. on a Wednesday?" I'm like, "No, I've practiced." And they're like, "For what?" And I was like, "Wrestling." And they're like, "Oh, can you like skip it?" And I was like, No, it's like for NYU." And they're like, "We have sports?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we do." They're like,
Very much so.
"How many?" And I was like, "I don't know, maybe like 20." And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "No, we definitely do." Like they try to tell me like we don't.
Sweater.
Yeah, like you're trying to tell me we don't. I was like, "No, they definitely have practice. This is
Can
definitely a
attest
sport."
to this.
So
Yeah.
I think like the whole building is centered around like sports and like the actual sports that NYU has. So I think that'll be like a good positive thing for like the NYU student body community.
We'll have a home again, dude.
Exactly.
We'll straight up
A
have
hub
home.
for all of
one,
it.
Yeah, one centralized place. Do you guys I'll hear like, let's say when I made mention of it before, like with a media day, when we're wrapping up and then you guys are setting up for a practice, like there's always music playing. You guys have like a team DJ? Like does somebody like oversee the aux?
It's not usually one person. Kind of whoever gets here first and
Yeah,
whoever
just
wants
hops
to
on
put
it.
music on that day
Because
kind
I
of
feel
controls
like
the vibe for the day.
I always hear Lil Uzi.
Oh yeah, I'm a
Is this
big
Lil
Luce
Uzi
guy.
team?
Well, I
Yeah,
like
there you
Lil
go.
Uzi.
It also depends who comes into the room.
Yeah.
Like so if Haberli walks into the room, he's like, "Oh, turn that
I was
disco
about
off."
to ask
So like
if you get that from
the
sure.
music selection can go like just goes into the ground when he walks in.
That's
Depends
like
on
his
the person.
catchphrase. Turn that disco off.
yeah.
Turn that disc.
Any
like-
rap, any like club music, anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
With a hard
gone.
bass.
Yeah,
Gone.
anything.
Yeah.
Just an old head, you know.
Your first
literally it.
basketball is round ball, and I think that's funny.
And then, but like if Corey walks in or like some of the other coaches, it's just like just play whatever you want,
Okay.
whatever's
Yeah.
gonna like get you going.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
Coach's
that
philosophy.
counts, right?
right.
Sure.
Travel stories. Of course, flying to UAAs pretty soon. Like you mentioned, go to a lot of tournaments all around. Went down to Florida this year too for the Citrus. That must have been a great experience. So, Any good travel stories, kind of moments on the road?
I have a story. You want to go first? You go. No, you go
I don't know
first.
if I have a story.
Came in hot. Yeah.
I do. Okay, so last year going to nationals, on that Wednesday I have 2 exams scheduled. So I'm under the notion that we take the exams on Thursday when I have nothing to do. So that's like the notion in my head. That's what Coach Haberli says. That's like what the professor said. All right, great. 8 a.m., we're waiting for an Uber to go to Newark Airport. We're on 14th Street in Palladium. Ryan Westman drops by. He's like, all right, Trent, both these exams have to be done before 5:30. And I'm standing there wearing the same exact thing. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, like 5:30 have to be like uploaded and like submitted. And I was like, how do you want me to do that? We're going to be in an Uber in about 5 minutes, and then we're going to be on 2 plane rides to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He's like, I'm not really sure. You just got to like figure it out. I was like, oh, I just got to figure it out. So it's like 20 degrees. This is a light sweatshirt. So I go there, and in the Uber, I am dripping in sweat. Just dripping. I have like the cold sweats. Jason looks over. He's like, Trent, are you okay? I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. Absolutely zero idea. So then Bruce is just like, just like take it on the floor on like, when we're waiting for the plane. I was like, oh yeah, let me just take it an exam worth. Like one was 30% of my grade, one was 25. So I was like, if I mess up on this, like semester's done.
Yeah.
It's the first, semester's done. So I was like, all right, so I got to do 2 exams. And then we got to worry about the national tournament, let alone like the wrestling, right? It's like, got to take 2 exams. So I had to take one on the plane, like the first plane. I'm sitting there, maybe have like 6 inches of room. I'm huddled up. Still dripping profusely.
Screaming baby in front of him. No joke. Screaming baby.
Flight attendants like, tray tables up, please.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, it could always get worse. It could always get worse. I hear this scream baby. I'm like, I'm in my head, I'm like, I know it could always get worse. I don't know how much worse it can get right now. Yeah. And then the like, I finish that one. I'm like, we land in, where did we land?
I have no idea.
We land in Chicago. Where was that? O'Hare?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we
Good
get
luck
there.
getting a connecting flight there.
Sprinting to the next gate because, like, flight was, like, right on time. And then it's like, all right, I got, like, another 30 minutes total to do this next one from O'Hare to Cedar Rapids. And I was like, all right, just take it. And I'm just, like, going through its multiple choice. And I was like, this is great. And then after I finished it, I was like, all right, now I guess we can worry about wrestling after my adrenaline went through the ground.
Yeah, damn, that sounds.
I don't think anything will ever, like, compete with that as far as like a traveling story for me.
Maximum
I was
stress
like,
levels.
I was just like overall, if I could do that, I could do whatever like these
Right.
classes are.
He's a student.
Being an
He's a scholar.
observer of that story was actually so funny. I was just watching him. I was like a couple seats down from him, and he's just like, we got turbulence. He's just like,
It's unbelievable.
baby in front of him. He's like got like scribbles all over the paper. I'm like, oh my God, thank God. Meanwhile, I had an exam too, but I could do it like at my hotel. So we got there. I'm like all sitting down. I have like my like exam here, my pen here. I'm like just sitting at my nice desk.
At a Marriott.
Like, at a water.
Yeah.
Comfortable.
My water here. I'm just like, okay, here we go.
With apple slices.
Yeah.
Air conditioning.
Unbelievable. But
Much
it makes for
easier.
a good story.
It does.
Exactly.
It does now.
Yeah, after the fact.
Coop, have you got any on the travel story front, whether it be like messing with a teammate or anything like that? Or if you don't have a travel story, who's a poor traveler?
A poor traveler.
Could be from the planning phases to maybe just not handling turbulence well, always lost, no idea where baggage claim is. Just all of the above.
I feel like Nick Krasinski's honestly just like always lost. That's a very always lost as Nick Krasinski comes to mind. He just kind of like follows around. He'll just be like lagging behind, just show up somewhere out of nowhere.
I'm sure he'll appreciate it.
I think the best thing is though, like with NYU, so many kids are out of state, so many kids fly so often. So
Yeah.
like our old trainer, like Chelsea, we went to nationals. She's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go here, 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 and here, because she flies everywhere. I was like, oh, I never take a plane. I'm from Jersey. Drive in 20 miles away. So like the only times I fly are like going wherever with the team. So I'm like, all right, Chelsea, I'm just gonna follow you. She knows like everything to do.
On that same note of like just team culture overall, how do you guys really come together? It seems like you're a pretty close group.
Yeah, actually at like tournaments, especially this year, we kind of just get together in the hotel room the night before and just like goof around. We play like this game Mafia. It's just like a just like a, I don't even know how to describe it, like a card game type thing. And just like play a bunch of different like team games, and we're all joking around, like not even thinking about the wrestling the next day. It helps so much. Like instead of everyone getting there and like you're just sitting in your hotel room for like, we get there usually like 5 o'clock. So we have like a couple hours before we go to sleep. Instead of just sitting there like twiddling our thumbs and just like thinking about tomorrow, we get together and just kind of let loose.
I think we also just have like all like similar interests. You know, like we all work hard in the wrestling room. Yeah. We like to go to the gym outside, and we're all pretty much like very similar in that aspect. And then, so it just like makes like for easy like company. It's like, oh, you want to hang out? We already have similar interests, and then you just like build the friendships on from there.
It's easy. Like that made building friends here much easier. Like I basically had an instant friend group built in from day one. Like I'm not like a super outgoing person, so like having the people, like we had a group chat even before we got here of just like everyone in the freshman class last year. So I basically already was making friends before, and as soon as I got on campus, I was like, hey, anyone want to meet in my room? Let's go to the gym like first day. Like let's go get food or something. Like we basically had friends immediately, and then once season starts and everyone's practicing together every day, like going through it as well, like especially J term when we're just here, just brings everyone closer throughout the whole season.
The massive head start that you and all student athletes get by just having that core group, right? Like I think a lot of college students who, let's say, aren't on a team and maybe don't have a club before they even arrive to campus, for instance, like they kind of choose their friends like through proximity, where it's like, you know, like that kind of weird dynamic or awkward, at least dynamic with your roommate, where it's like, hey, like you want to go to the dining hall? No, okay, I'm sorry, I'll never talk to you again. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whereas like you guys, like you have like your core, like and you can just hit the ground running, so that's pretty fire. In these last couple of minutes that we have, I wanted to ask about just if your mind has gone there at all, career aspirations and whatever those might be, at least like, you know, even just areas of interest, and if there's anything or anyone that inspired those.
From like, I guess like senior high school, that was always pretty cool to get like a further degree, like rather, because like, you know, a ton of people get, especially nowadays, like a college degree, but it's hard to get like, you know, a master's, like especially like an MBA, especially from like, you know, Stern. So I definitely want to like pursue that, or like pursue a master's in like real estate, just like a further degree, you know, help like my resume in the future for like promotions or anything like that. And also just like self-accomplishment, because when you talk to people, it's like you get like more respect, I would say, if you're like, oh, I have like an advanced degree here, like, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm this, I'm that. So just like, you know, like personal accomplishment.
Yeah, for sure.
Of course, competitive advantage.
Yeah,
definitely.
I babbled about it a little bit before, like something in the finance realm. I don't really know. I honestly just want to make money. Like, well, we're gonna figure it out. We're just gonna figure it out. I'm just gonna play it by ear and just like stumble into something and plan to make a lot of money. That's that's my vibe right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Listen, you could look at it as stumble as one way, but I mean, like the alumni base NYU, like I'm sure it'll work out both. And
within your program itself.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Kai, do you have anything else?
Nah, it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Cool.
You guys were awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Keep it locked to GoNYUathletics.com for all things NYU athletics, NYU wrestling, of course. Keep in tune with us on NYU Athletics on social. You just listened to Sounds Behind the Violets podcast, episode number 10. Made it to 10.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.